Hey everybody, Jeremy here from Nobot Studios. I am back with another GRIT Galaxies RPG project update. Welcome. It has been a long time. The month has flown by and I have been working my little fanny off on this project. So I am here to update you on all the ins and outs of what's happening with this thing. So I have finished the writing in this book. The full first draft is just completely done. I wrapped it up yesterday. So from here on out, it's going to be, as far as the writing is concerned, just editing and polishing this book. So pretty exciting. Perfect timing for like some life changes that are happening right now. And so yeah, just moving forward with this. Okay, so I have I'm just going to work through like I did before, like with the table of contents. Just kind of go through some things that I've been working through to finish this thing up for the first draft. So let's just pull that up. Okay, the table of contents. Now, there's not a lot on this first page that I have to really talk about. Everything is done in the introduction section. Core rules are all done. I did go in and I added a combat potentiality. So that's like the very last thing on the list in the combat subsection. And what I did there is I added a multi-target weapons little paragraph. And that basically is just clarifying, weapons that, affect multiple targets with one attack. It's just a real small thing, just in case anybody needs to reference it. There are a number of weapons that kind of do that now in Galaxies, because they're more high-tech and higher powered. They're going to basically long-range weapons that will deal radius effect in a certain area. I think I could attack multiple targets at once. So I added that in. Pretty minor, actually. Character section is all finished. That's all done. Don't have to worry about that anymore. There may still be some tweaks here and there with the not the universal aspect value, the unique items, actually. So that's just something that I'm going to have to work out through testing. I think they're pretty much solid, but we'll see how that goes. And then getting into the second page, this is kind of where the work happened this last month. So, okay, let's see. GM's guide is pretty much that's done. Except the only thing that I kind of went in and tweaked a little bit was the Mighty D4 section. So I added a little bit of advice, like one little section on advice, and I just added a timers thing to that because you can use it as a timer. I didn't have that before, so now it's in there. Just like two sentences, basically. So that's finished. And then monsters are all done. That's been done for a while. There may be some tweaks here and there as I test those in, future games. If I want to adjust the strengths or weaknesses or whatever features, I may do that a little bit, but pretty much they're locked in. And then the vehicle section, I did a lot of work in. In the first part of it, the combat, I tweaked and streamlined like armor and shields. And then the PC vehicles, like there's a section, because I break it down to two ways to run vehicles, the GM side and the PC side. They operate a little bit differently. The vehicles for the GM are basically monsters. They have a stat block, universal aspect value, all that stuff. PC vehicles operate a little bit differently. They use PC aspects and They have grit, but they don't have a universal aspect value, obviously. So I just like went in there and streamlined a bunch of stuff there. And then moving forward, I used to have power suits, and now they're called mech suits. That just seems a little bit better of a title for that. And that is where I've been doing testing. I did a couple test sessions for just mech suits this last month. I had a third one scheduled, but that didn't work out, and I'm going to push that, within the next week or so. I'll probably test again. So yeah, some exciting things in the mech suits. I added 4 pages to that. So now there's 6 pages total. I have like the first page is like basic rules and combat kind of stuff. There's not a lot because it really mimics the PC combat. It's very, very similar. The only difference, really, the biggest difference is that mech suits deal double damage to soft targets like PCs and monsters. And then soft targets like PCs and monsters only deal half damage to mechs. So they're a bit more powerful. And then I do have some, I basically bullet pointed a bunch of specific rules on mech suits. So those are all set up and ready to go. It's very streamlined, should be easy to understand. And then I added an advice section. So like the second page, you're going to see a big picture of a mech or 2. And then under that will be just advice for the GM for running mechs. So there's like 5 of those. Third page is just a whole page of pre-gen mech suits. So I did 4 of those. They are set up for both the GM and the PC. So either way you could run it, whatever way you want. And you can just roll a D4 and you got a mech suit ready to go. So I've got the Assault Striker, I've got a Grunge Brawler, I've got a Labor Grunt, and a Recon Scout. So kind of try to get as broad of a kind of example of each of those as I could. With the things that I provided in the book, you can have just so many options for these. So it's a great, section, I think. I really like it. I like how it turned out. So, and the 4th page starts the mech suit builder. So that is 1 page of just like stat block and narrative tags. And then the next 2 pages are D20 tables of core upgrades and weapons and tools. So you have 40 choices of stuff there. And mech suits are going to have 4 features. So you get to have 4 of those, whatever combination you want. There are a lot of different options between armor, defensive stuff, just some cool upgrades like that will add an aspect value, +1 aspect, or one of them adds grit. Some of them help you with certain terrain, real cool stuff. So, and then the weapons and tools, obviously there's just a whole range of, melee weapons and ranged weapons and some non-lethal stuff, some tool rigs, that sort of thing. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff. So you can basically build out a mech in like 5 minutes. So if you're going to be a GM running a mech suit, you just roll, I think there's 4 steps. So you do stat block, you do 4 narrative tags, you do 2 core upgrades and 2 weapons and tools, and you are good to go. So, and I am kind of making it clear in here that, in the advice section of this, that mech suits are not going to be like the standard fare thing that happens all the time in the game. Again, I am not making this about vehicles so much. They're going to play a role, of course, but the game itself is, PCs going to places. So I want to kind of make it clear that the mech suits are kind of part of the ship that they're on, and they're kind of, based like, they're kind of set up like a rental. You've got this specific mission you need to go to in a really harsh environment, and you get in your mech suit and go down there and take care of business. So that's just how I'm setting it up. Obviously, anybody can run it the way they want it to be run, but that is kind of, the theme that I'm going for with that. So vehicle section is all done, which is very happy. That was a lot of work. There's going to probably be some tweaking in the features when I do more testing with it, but I think they're pretty solid, most of them. So anyway, then moving on here, I finished the loot section. So that means 12D12 tables are done. So I struggled with a couple sections. The ranged weapons were actually a little tough. I don't know. I just having a hard time coming up with ideas, but I fleshed them out. I got them. So there's 12 categories. First one is armor and defense. Second one is bombs and mines. Third is doses and devices. Fourth is grenades. I've got fifth is hardware and tools. Sixth is melee weapons. I've got 7 with nutriments. So just all food items. They're basically like potions in fantasy. 8 is non-lethal tech, and 9 is peculiar goods. So all kinds of weird things, or alien artifacts, kind of stuff like that. I've got 10, which is ranged weapons. 11, which is shards and relics. I kind of wanted to pull in a little bit of fantasy into this to kind of tie the two together, fantasy and galaxies. So I've got some stuff there. A lot of them are just, magical shards. And then the 12th one is wearables and garb. So it's a good mix of stuff, So those are all done. Each of those is going to have an illustration above them. So that's adding to the illustration work that I need to do, but I think it's going to make the section look really cool when it's done. So next section is the solo tips. So I went in there, I streamlined a little bit. I went into there's a companion subsection, so I streamlined that, made it look a little nicer, and made the companions more in line with monsters and NPCs, and so their tags and stuff are identical. The first go around, they're kind of like notes, so now they're solid and ready to go. The subsection that's called Oracle, I added a blurb on the timer with that for the D4, the mighty D4. I was going to put some solo tables in the solo tip section, but decided against it. I think I'm going to, if I do anything with solo, will be its own kind of supplement. So it'll be just a PDF if I do that. But that is a future thing. Yeah, so that finished up solo tips. Quick rules are done. Character sheet is done. And that is pretty much all the content in the book. It's just done. So I submitted a copy to Ryan to kind of start on the editing, but I hadn't finished the vehicles or loot section at all. So I may get with him and get what he has kind of already looked at, work through what the notes he's left for me, and get everything together and resubmit just as a whole thing. So yeah, and so that process is going to be just over the months, just polishing this thing, making it shine. I think it's a really solid first draft. I don't think there's going to be any movement of any of the sections at all. I think it'll be a little bit of rewriting and a lot of just catching small mistakes in it. So there's far less loot to do this go around, so I'm happy about that. I'm happy for myself and for Ryan so we don't have so much to go through on that. And I tried to make a lot more one-line items. So they're not the two lines worth of stuff. It's just one line, which is far more streamlined. I went ahead and did a page count for the entire book, and it's at 142, and that is not going to change now. So I've got, 4 more pages than I did with fantasy for Galaxies, and there's just so much more stuff now. With that mech suit builder that I added, I now have 7 builders in the book. So there is going to be no shortage of generators for anything you're looking for Galaxies. You are going to be all set. I also went through the entire book, and I kind of went to counted up all my art that I need to do, and I'm looking at 118 to 120 illustrations. So I have a lot of work to do ahead of me. Fortunately, my process is going to be a little different this time. I have mentioned that before, but I'm going to make things more simple, more cartoony looking. So I think that's going to help a lot with my speed of how I can move things along. And with a new job that I'm getting into in my personal life that may have some overtime and stuff, I'm going to, this is going to be a slow process. I'm going to have to just kind of schedule out my work and be a weekend warrior sometimes to get this done. So I'm hoping that I can kind of wrap this up in late fall, early winter. So we shall see how that all works out. I also have the cover to do. I know what I'm going to do for the layout. Basically, I'm probably going to do some composite illustrations. I'm thinking maybe multiple characters, like PC lineages on the front. I haven't quite decided yet, but I'm looking at 4 to 8 separate illustrations to make a composite illustration that'll fit on those 2 pages, front and back. But it'll be very close to what fantasy is. Okay. So that's it for what's going on. So right from now on is going to be just the editing process, polishing the writing, doing some tweaks with whatever testing I'm doing on the book. And then I'm going to just be working on art. So I think next one of these updates that I do, you're going to be seeing a little bit of sketch work and art stuff that I'm working on. I'm already kind of working on sketches. I've been working through my sketchbooks. I've got a lot of pencil drawings that I've been inking and making digital copies of so that I can start getting these into final form soon. So it's just sort of building up my inventory of images. I've got a list of all the monsters, space monsters that I need that I've been slowly kind of sketching out so I get an idea of what these things are going to look like. Because sometimes what I end up doing is, because the picture turns out a certain way, I have to actually change the writing in the book to kind of more match the image. That happened a number of times in the fantasy book. So, and like I always do, I'm going to do a couple of the lineages, right? So I'm going to go over, let's see, it's going to be the Protean first. These guys, they're fun. These guys, they're basically gelatinous blobs. They've got a gloopy body ability, so you can like change your shape and extend your appendages out to short range, and you can't be grappled. Because how can you grapple a big gelatinous, gross blob? They're a bit strange. They're amoeba-like. They're nearly transparent. I picture them being like pink, purple, or even green. They're famous for their go with the flow attitudes, even in perilous danger. So these guys are fun. I've had a number of people play test with these. But I think the last time we had one, but it was in a mech suit, so it couldn't really use ability so much because they were in the suit. But anyway, next one is one of my favorites, and this is the Scug. So these guys are, they're pretty funny. Their ability is the Mighty Bite. So they can do a melee attack just like a normal weapon. You can chew through metal and consume inorganic objects without harm. And these guys are always hungry. So They have prominent mouths, round bodies, extendable eye stalks, which they can like look behind them with. They have 4 small arms, and basically they're known for being scrappers. They don't have an advanced kind of homeworld. They basically have made their homes in drifting colonies made of like space debris and derelict vessels. So they're natural scavengers and often become traders and peddlers of rummage tech. So that is the Scug. I've only got 2 more left, and I think from there, maybe I'll start looking at the scummy lineages for these little videos. So that is all that I have for this. So thank you for listening in and following along with this project. It's getting more exciting as it goes along. This is going to be a very, I think it's going to be a great book. I honestly, I think it's going to be better than fantasy. And fantasy is good. But this has so much in it, and it is sci-fi, which I don't think is done as much, like fantasy kind of is the market, right? It's just got a lot of good stuff in it. So I think people are going to really enjoy it, as long as they're not looking for some kind of like really grindy kind of sci-fi. This is grit. This is fast. This is fast, furious, and funny. Kind of the 3 Fs, if that's a thing. Anyway, thanks again for stopping by and listening to this, and I appreciate you. And hey, I'll see you again, and keep rolling those dice.